Hello, welcome to the Opinionistics. I'm your host, John Malone, and we'll potentially have co-hosts joining us, but if not, let's go with the flow. So, introducing from Ohio, South Dakota, California, Washington, and/or Arizona, and Charles.
Hi, great to be on here. Currently, it's Arizona.
All right, that sounds good. So, Anne, what do you do for a living?
Well, I'm an author, a fiction author to be exact, and I write mixed genre, mixture of mystery, supernatural, action, adventure thrown in, a little bit of romance, lots of humor, all wrapped together in several different stories. I currently have 5 different series that I'm writing, and I would like to start a fifth, but I think I'm going to need a clone before I can make that happen.
All right then. And how long have you been being an author for?
Whew, a long time. I started trying my hand at this gig in the mid 1990s, and spent time perfecting. Well, you're always trying to perfect, but getting better and better at the craft of writing and telling a story through the early 2000s. I had written about 8 books by the time the first one was published. Um, and that was my 8th book that was published. So then I went back and cleaned up a couple of the older ones and got those going and built the different series. And that was in January 2011 when the first one went live, was published.
Hmm. All right then. Fabulous. And is there any more books you're planning on writing and/or publishing?
Yeah, I still have. I'm right now working on the 13th book in one of my more popular series, the Deadwood Mystery series, which is available ebook, print book, and audio. All of the books I write are available in audio if you like to listen. You can find them out there under some of the bigger retailers, such as Apple, Amazon, I think Audible, and then also many, many more for the Deadwood Mystery series and the Deadwood Undertaker series, which is Old West meets Supernatural. And I co write that with my husband, Sam Lucky.
All right then. Fabulous. So what was life for you growing up?
Well, I grew up on a small farm in a small town in Northwest Ohio, part of the time, and the other part, I was in and around Deadwood, South Dakota, which is a smaller town. It was mining way back when. And my parents had split when I was pretty young. And so I would go back and forth between parents and between states. And a lot of time, that was back before I think we had 3 or 4 channels on the old TV. We weren't lucky enough to have cable out in the country. So I didn't get to watch, all that exciting HBO and all those big, fancy channels that were coming in. And, we listened to stuff on the radio. I had 8-track tapes, cassettes, that kind of stuff. So I'm giving my age away a little bit here, but a lot of time reading because that was a main source of entertainment, and also exploring, whether I was in South Dakota in the Black Hills, which are like foothills of some of the bigger mountains like the Rockies and some, all around the world, as well as on the farm in Ohio. I spent a lot of time reading, and exploring different worlds.
Okay. Yeah, I can see it now.
Out there
Good.
with a book, read away.
Fabulous. Yeah. Is there any particular genre or a kind of category, I might say, that you've thought about potentially writing in the future?
Well, I really enjoy adventure. I love, like treasure hunting and movies involving, ships, whether old time or newer, and it's something I would love to explore, but I'll need to really educate myself. Readers are very smart. They know, especially if you have a certain kind of genre they like, take historical romance, for example, from Victorian times. They will know the style of clothing, the hats, what was allowed, what wasn't allowed. As detailed as you want to get to carriages, and styles of houses, they'll know all that detail. So you really have to do your research and be smart about what you're writing. You can't be, kind of lazy and sloppy and just throw stuff out, because they'll tell you you're doing it wrong, and they'll tell you in reviews, which you don't want to. It's one thing to get a review where they don't like your story just because it's not their cup of tea. It's another if you get bad reviews that are because you didn't do your research. So there's a lot of work that goes into, exploring new genres. And I would like to take the time to do that. But I do have 2 children. They're a little older now, not yet done with high school, though. So right now I'm trying to focus on spending time with my family, because there'll come a day when they're gone, and then I can just dive into, what new maybe genres, new categories at that time. But for now, I'm just kind of doing what I do the best at this time, as well as enjoying my family.
Sounds great. Do you ever travel often?
We travel every year for book signings. We go especially to the Deadwood, South Dakota area, which is about, well, I don't know in kilometers, but it's 12,000 miles ish from where we live. So we at least go there, and we do some book signings there, and talk to the locals, because I know a lot of folks from there. My mom still lives there, so we visit there. But we also go to see family all over. We have family up by Seattle. We have family over toward the East Coast. We have friends down in Florida, and we have lots of in between. So we do travel by car a lot. We're not big fans of flying. It's just not as much fun as it is taking back roads and exploring different areas, small towns and whatnot. And I think that's good too, as fodder for learning about, things to add to the story, things to the people you meet, the stories you hear. It all helps enrich a storytelling brain, so that we can come up with some fun new stuff, and sprinkle that in as well. We've been to Mexico, we've been to Canada, we have been over to England, but that was pre-kids. And we'd like to go again now that our kids are older, but we're waiting till they appreciate it, and they're not just, what are we doing now? When are we doing this? That kind of a thing. We kind of wanted them to be old enough to go, wow, this is amazing here, and really get into the history of it over there. So we do like to travel. It's a big part of our world.
Nice. What was the last book you've read?
The last book I read, oh, I'm trying to think of it. I read a Susan Elizabeth Phillips. She writes contemporary romance. And I've been cleaning out my office, and I have a ton of books that I've accumulated over the years from different conferences where I've met the writers and bought their books. And so I was moving books from one bookcase to the other, and I thought it's time that I go through these books and decide if I'm going to keep them or not, these new books and some of the old. And so I had received or bought several of hers at a conference where we met. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna sit down and read. So she has a series that takes place in Chicago that I dug into, and that was my last book. So I'm not. I did enjoy it, but I'm not reading because this is I have to read this story. It's more clean up your stuff, get rid of some things. You need to make room. So decide if you want to keep books or not.
Okay, that seems fair. If you could only eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Oh boy. Geez. That's tough. I don't know. Probably something bread related, which is, the horrible carbs that you're not supposed to eat. But I do love, any nice fresh loaf of warm bread. There's nothing like that. So if it meant that I wouldn't, get big as a house eating all this bread, I would love to just have bread.
Hmm. Okay. I can see where you're coming from. Would you rather have an agility of a cat or breathe underwater?
Have the agility of cats or be able to breathe underwater. That was it, right? That was your question.
Yeah.
I got stuck on that cats thinking about that. Oh boy. I have 4 cats and they're pretty acrobatic. It is impressive. But I think I'll go with the cats. I'm not much water. I'm a little more nervous out there amongst the fish. So I'll be good with, being like a cat.
Okay. Sounds good. What place or activity do you find relaxing?
Reading. Reading is relaxing, especially if it's not my own book, because if I'm reading my own works, it's because I'm editing, and that's, a little stressful. But I do love to find a good story and go somewhere comfortable, whether it be, a nice beach that you're sitting at, or in a cozy room with a fireplace, or wherever. I can even sitting in the car waiting to pick up my kids at school. If I can just sink into a story and enjoy it and escape, I love that. That's one of the most relaxing things, and it always brings back, well, depending on the story, I'm sure, but takes you to your most relaxed, your happy place where you feel comfortable, and it's like a form of meditation almost.
Hmm. All right then. What could you give a 40-minute presentation on with absolutely no preparation?
Something writing related. I actually had a podcast there. She started out and she was really nice. She goes, okay, for the first 15 minutes, and this was a minute before we started. She said, for the first 15 minutes, I'm going to hand this over to you. And I want you to just tell us and tell all the listeners why you do what you do, and, a little bit about writing. And I just kind of gulped and said, okay. So I've been, doing this job for, if you go back to when I first started, getting close to 20 years at trying to write and market and do all that I can with being a fiction author. So I have some fun stories that, and experiences over the years and wild things that have happened. And um, it's easy for me to just, kind of share some of that depending on what you're interested in listening to, what
Whatever
area.
works. Whatever
Yeah.
works. Go with the flow.
Yep.
Do you like spicy food?
Oh, I wish I did. My husband loves it. But no, my tongue's a big wimp. It likes mild, um, but too hot, and all I can focus on is, oh my gosh, this is too hot. I can't eat it. I can't taste it. So I'm a bit of a wimp when it comes to spicy foods. I like
Uh,
sweets are my thing. I love sweets.
okay. Seems fair. What wastes the most time in your day-to-day life?
What wastes the most time?
Yeah, what wastes the most time in your day-to-day life?
Oh boy, probably cleaning, because I procrastinate and clean things rather than get busy with bookworking or get online and do some social networking or get to work writing. I will go, oh, it's time to deep clean the stove. I've got to clean that. Or I'm going to go clean up out here in the garage. Anything I can find that'll keep my hands busy and give me time to, kind of procrastinate what I have to do and sink into stuff. And everybody knows everything just gets dirty again, especially if you have children. So it's a waste of time, but it also, I think, is a stress reliever in some ways.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Are you more of an early bird or a night owl?
I used to be a night owl for years and years and years. Even when my kids were babies, I was the night owl, and I'd write late into the night. But now in their older years, we have to get up so early to take them into school, and I like to see them in the morning before they go to school. So I've shifted now, and I tend to get up between around 5 to 5:30 a.m. and then I end up going to bed about midnight. So I still stay up a little late, but then I get up early because for some reason, about 5.5 hours is all that my body wants to sleep, and then it's time to get up and get going again.
Hmm. Interesting. If... oh dear. If you could have a never-ending candle that smelled like anything you wanted, what fragrance would you want it to be?
Vanilla. That's it. It's a nice, even smell. It's not too thick and cloying. It's just a nice vanilla smell is always yummy.
Fabulous. What's your favorite fruit?
Wow, that's trying to think through all the different fruits. Lately, I've been enjoying grapefruit, which is really odd because when I was a kid, I couldn't stand it. It was just too bitter always. But now, as I get a little bit older, I find that um, I like grapefruit. Sometimes they're sweet, sometimes they're not. So it would be something, citrusy. I also like the small oranges and things like that. I'm been really kind of enjoying those tastes lately.
Okay then. What's your favorite color and your favorite thing that is that color?
Purple is my favorite color. And I don't know why it just came out like in purple. And I don't know. I like so many things that are purple. I like grapes, the dark red grapes that are kind of purplish. I like the taste of those. I like grape pop, anything popsicles that are grape flavored. So I tend to, lean toward it just because the color. I have a pair of cowboy boots that my family, friends, and coworkers bought me when I first started doing book signing tours. They all chipped in, and they're purple, which is my favorite color, and they're one of my favorite purple items. So I've had those about 10 years now that they get all, I take good care of them and put them away for, just for book signings. So they're one of my favorite things too. That's purple.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. Cool. Cool. Would you rather have chicken feet or cat arms your whole life?
That's interesting. I think chicken feet because they don't seem to get cold. So I wouldn't worry about frostbite on my toes.
Okay. Sounds like a good answer. What What do you greatly enjoy doing, but wish you could do more of?
Oof. I guess it's, just relaxing and spending time with my family. And I say that because, I work from home and I've been doing this now for 11 years. And there's always something to do. Even on Christmas, I can find work that I need to get done. And I have to really work it, saying, put aside time and spend it. Work can wait. Take this time and enjoy with your family more, being around people and just enjoying that. As an entrepreneur, I think that it will give all the time I could give it, it'll eat that up and take and want more. So it's really easy to lose yourself in that and then lose precious time with those you love and, friends and family.
Yeah, absolutely. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
See, there's the thing. I always wanted to have more than one place. Could you do like one per season? Wouldn't that be nice? You could go here for a while and then go over here. I enjoy where we live right now. We live in Arizona, but we're not down in the hot desert. We're up in the mountains, about a mile high for us. So like today, we had some snow come through. Um, and I enjoy that we can just drop down, within an hour, we can be down among the cactus and enjoying all the cacti and all the different, warm things down there. So I do like it here quite a bit. But I also enjoyed living up in the Pacific Northwest with the beautiful green. Everything was emerald colored. It's similar in many ways to England and Ireland and Scotland with all the rain and the weather and the rugged terrain is beautiful up there too. So it's really hard to pick one place. And I would love to, there's so many places overseas I'd like to visit more and spend time there and enjoy. So I can't pick just one. I wanna fly all over and migrate maybe like a bird here and there.
Okay, that's very logical and very reasonable. Would you rather be teleported 500 years into the past or 500 years into the future?
Oh boy. 500 years would take us back to the 1600s. Ooh, those weren't the easiest of times, but I think I would go to the past. Do I get to know everything I know now? Because that sure would help on setting every,
Whatever works.
um,
Perhaps, yeah.
I think the past. I'm more, kind of what I know. Having known some of what's gone on back then, I'd feel a little better. Although, boy, you can die of so many things back then. It's just crazy. So I'd have to tiptoe around and be careful.
Yeah, absolutely. What is something popular now, but in 5 years, everyone will look back and be embarrassed that they liked it at one point?
Wow, that's really tough. You're straining my brain tonight. Let's see what's so popular. I'm sure it's one of the social media networks that's going big. Um,
Hmm.
and in 5 years, we'll have switched to something different because it just seemed like, even though Facebook is still here after all these years, it's really tanked compared to what it was, 5 years ago. And I imagine that we'll continue to find new ways to interact online. And some of the stuff we do now will seem in 5 years like old school, which means I'll finally be getting into it by then. And it'll be old time, and that'll be out of date. So that seems the way I run. I'm always running a little behind.
Hmm. That's the way. And this is something that just came to the top of my head. What do you think in the next generation of celebrities, or what do you think of the next generation of anything?
What do I think of them in general? Like how they'll
Yeah,
be?
yeah, the next generation of anything that surrounds us, next generation of celebrities, social media, um, politics, any of the new generation stuff, rather than what we have in the present.
Yeah. Well, knowing all the between COVID, climate change crisis, so much we are living, it seems like, in such a time of crisis. If you listen, especially listening to the media, and I'm not saying they're wrong or right, it's just like we're constantly at a high stress level of crisis. So I imagine this next generation coming up into this, they're going to really have some struggles. They're going to possibly have trust issues more than maybe some of us from other generations, because who do they believe? Which media source do they believe? And if they're constantly put in this fight or flight mode, it's going to definitely have a long-term effect on their psyche and how they handle any stresses that come their way. My generation were what we call, and I don't know if you guys go by it too, there, a Gen X. So we grew up, our parents weren't home a lot. We kind of learned to deal with a lot of stuff ourselves. We tend to come into things, I think, on a lower level because we grew up under things weren't right. There was crises going on as well, and you learned how to cope. So I wonder if, this next generation that's growing up in crisis, this as well, will also have developed some coping skills maybe that others haven't, because they came out of the gate having to go, oh my gosh, all this stuff's going on. How do I handle this and keep living and wanting to live? So I don't know if that's the way you wanted me to go, but I think it's going to be interesting to see what this causes in the long term.
Yeah, that's a very interesting answer. You never might know what's gonna come. Just gotta go with it.
Right, right.
What's the weather like where you're at right now?
Okay, so it's been crazy. Yesterday we were, and again, I'm sorry, but in seventh grade science, when they had us learning metrics and Celsius and all that, I was chewing gum and got in trouble for it. I wasn't paying 100% attention, but I'm going to give it to you. 60 degrees Fahrenheit yesterday, sunny, beautiful, up here in the mountains. Today it was in the 30s and we had snowflakes most of the day. Nothing's accumulated because the ground was warm, but it has been a snowy, crazy day. And then we're supposed to be in a couple days back up to the hot, warm, mid 60s. So we're in that time of year here where our weather fluctuates, within every a day, and we can go from 40 degree difference between day and night, and it makes our house crack because it all crack, crack, crack. It's kind of interesting. It makes what it does to everything around as you shift that much between heat and cold in 24 hours.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh dear. So, there it is again. If you have to choose between scuba diving, bungee jumping, or scuba diving, which one would you choose?
Ugh. Ah, I'd probably scuba dive. It seems less frightening than bungee diving to me, or jumping off bridges or anything. It's just, whew, I don't think I have it in me to do that. But I would be willing to strap on the tanks and go down under and explore a ship or something down under the water. That would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it sure will be. And that is all we have for this episode. It was great having you here and talking about your work as an author, your upcoming books, the process, and a lot of other things. It's been amazing.
Well, thank you for having me on. It's been fun and interesting. You've asked me so many questions that I was not thinking would even come this way, but that's been a lot of fun talking about stuff.
Anytime. And until next time, stay opinionated.